Did you know I like 3D platformers? I'm Billy S, and I felt like replaying Super Mario 64. I only owned the DS version as a kid. The N64 version wasn't really something I got to play until I was older, but I really wanted to replay it recently, and well, I've got some opinions. Today, I'll be ranking the courses in the game based on how much I enjoyed them. I'm mainly taking into account how fun their stars are to collect and how fun they are to traverse. And as for the hidden courses in the castle, I'll consolidate them into their own single entry, and the same thing goes for the Bowser stages. I'm also not a speedrunner, I'm a casual fan. I don't know how to do speedrun skips, I'm not that knowledgeable in that area, so I won't be taking that into account because I'm not qualified. So let's long jump over to my least favourite level in Super Mario 64. At number 17, we have Dire Docks. Water levels can be some of the most breathtaking in all of gaming, but Dire Docks is in dire need of help, because it somehow is one of the least inspired courses in the series. You start in this vast pool teeming with wildlife, swim through a rather lengthy tunnel, and then enter a secret submarine base. You climb the submarine by hitting a purple switch, get your first star, and then you think, that was kind of boring. Once you beat Bowser in the Fire Sea, the submarine permanently vanishes from the level, allowing you to complete the other stars here, with such exciting concepts as pick a chest, follow the rings of a manta ray, dive through the rings of an underwater turbine, or use the vanish cap to walk through this cage. It's all very monotonous, not particularly challenging, and especially samey. But then you reach the red coin mission. You gotta jump along these hanging poles to collect them all, but don't think about grabbing that star once you're done, because if you want the Dire Docks 100 coin star, you need those red coins to have enough total. You just barely get the coins you need throughout the level, and the first room sees you collecting coins while avoiding the whirlpool in the center that, if it sucks you in, will kick you from the level. It's evil how a single mistake can see that 100 coin run and that red coin star go down the drain, and God forbid you accidentally get sucked out of the submarine room as you'll be dumped in the lake outside the castle, leaving you with a very long walk back to the course. Everything in Dire Docks is just designed to be as obnoxiously boring as possible, and it does not spark joy. At number 16, we have Tiny Huge Island. As a kid, I love this course, and its concept of switching between the tiny island and the huge island. As an adult, I'm a little sad to see how underutilized the switching mechanic actually is. Actions done on one island have an effect on the other island, but this is only truly used in the course's final star to access the Wiggler boss room. I do like that all the different stars feel varied though. Killing giant piranha plants, or finding out all the entrances Mario can't fit through on the tiny island, unlocking the cannon to access the red coin room, but then we have a fairly bland Koopa the Quick star with a route that didn't give us room to experiment since it's a pretty straight course, and by this point in the game, the whole climb to the top of this mountain trope had been done multiple times in Bob-omb Battlefield, Snowman's Land, and Tall Mountain. It felt very uninspired and very safe as a star here on Tiny Huge. Though my main frustration came from collecting the 100 coin star, as you need the red coins from beneath Wiggler's room, but they're perched over the void, so one mistake and you start from scratch. And then after that, to get back to the rest of the level, most players have to go through the Windy Valley, where the second wind gust doesn't always work, which can just kill you immediately. And I found the physics of the tiny island to be a little wonky, so with the wrong momentum, you could accidentally fly off the level and die. Tiny Huge Island felt like I was grasping at straws for coins for that 7th star, and I spent far longer here than I wanted to. You'll find that a lot of my biggest complaints about certain courses hit with that 100 coin star coming into play. It's a trope I'm glad died off, because a majority of these courses are not built with it in mind. At number 15, we have Rainbow Ride. Often considered the worst course in the game by the fanbase, I'm right there with you in having it in my bottom 3, but on this last replay, it ended up more manageable for me than I expected. I still think auto-scrollers are a very risky play in platformers because you're being forced to play at the game's pace, and this can be especially brutal if you fall into the void right at the very end of the course moments before you're going to collect a star. That still sucks, and knowing you have no choice but to spend another 3 or 4 minutes on those auto-scroll carpets again is pain. But then we have the crazy triangle star and the wooden step star that you can long jump to from the start, which is just pure platforming. This little section with the seesaws, the falling blocks, and the slight individual paths leading to either star are quite fun, although having both swinging in the breeze and tricky triangles branch off so close to either location is a little repetitive. The red coin star is fun. I like the cruiser and the big house stars, even if they take a lot of time to complete. But again, that 100 coin star is a nightmare at the best of times. You have to collect those blue coins by wall jumping at the red coin maze, and if you fail to get at least 3 of them, you might as well restart the course. I had to improv my 100 coin run because I didn't get every blue, but I still ended up going through the whole course and getting the star inside the big house. It's possible, but requires so much patience that most players shouldn't feel the need to go through with it. I'm also admittedly not a fan of when 3D platformers make every late game level bottomless pits galore. Between Rainbow Ride, TikTok Clock, Tall Mountain, and Tiny Huge Island, it was exhausting knowing that most of the time a single mistake could see me chucked from the painting. I think there are just better ways to design difficulty. Save the void for the Bowser stages where it makes sense to be there. At number 14, we have Tall Mountain. I never liked this course. There's something about it that never clicked with me. Could it be the extremely dull brown color palette? Could it be the fact that a majority of the stars ask you to climb to the top of the mountain where you either do the red coin skip or roll across that log a bunch of times? Could it be the fact that one of the stars is a blind cannon blast towards the goal where if you miss you get shafted out of the level? Yes, to all of that. While I do like the red coins on their own, I find them very annoying in conjunction with the 100 coin star, because I've mistimed the jumps across those mushrooms multiple times. Thank God we have the mysterious mountainside star, which sees us entering a hidden slide down the mountain with difficult twists and turns, which also acts as a nice buffer for coins when you're going for the 100. But when Scale the Mountain, Mystery of the Monkey Cage, Mysterious Mountainside, and Breathtaking View from the Bridge all require you to climb either to the peak or just below the peak on the same unchanging path, it really kills the game's momentum. Bob-omb Battlefield also has you climbing a large mountain, but it works there because it isn't terribly large and isn't required for every single star. Not to mention, that stage has really useful cannons. Tall Mountain, meanwhile, gives you 1 gust of wind to get up to the Ukiki platform, and that's it. The slide is all that saves it from plummeting down the rankings, I swear. At number 13, we have Shifting Sandland. Small confession, I can't say I've ever been the biggest fan of desert aesthetics. I live in Spain. It's hot here all the time. The heat of the desert is clearly giving me PTSD or something. Not to mention all the sand, so much yellow, which is one of my least favorite colors. SSL does do a lot right though. I think the platforms with the tox boxes are super fun, having to either time your movements so the boxes don't crush you, or long jumping across the gaps to avoid their paths altogether. I like riding around on the shell, which is so useful for reaching the top of the 4 pillars for the Stand Tall on the 4 Pillars star. The inner pyramid is one of my favourite areas in the game, with you working your way up these ever-changing challenges, hanging off grates, dodging the spindle, even finding the hidden pyramid puzzle star by dropping down some well-hidden platforms. And the iRock boss fight is one of the more functional in the game. It's Nintendo's favourite, floating face and hands, but it adds a layer of complexity to the course. What I'm not the biggest fan of is the outer area with all the quicksand. The tornadoes that constantly interrupt your movement, Klepto and his penchant for stealing Italian headwear. Most of my deaths in SSL came from either needing to reach the cannon for the red coin wing cap star, or just getting unlucky in platforming and landing in the various quicksand spots. There's so much in the way of instant death that getting the 100 coin star feels like the world's most nerve-wracking challenge, and overall I'm just not a fan of the aesthetic. We have gorgeous yellow bricks for the pyramid, but then there's this grey stone texture for this first structure, and almost metallic textures for the Toxbox section. It's so petty, but I'm a little fruity, and I love a sense of environmental cohesion, and SSL has absolutely zero environmental cohesion. At number 12, we have the Peach's Castle courses. We've got 6 different ones to pick from here, 3 cap switch levels and 3 secret areas, alongside the extra stars you get from certain toads and Mips the rabbit in the basement. And because I know you're curious, I'm even gonna rank these sub-areas for you. In last, Wing Mario over the Rainbow. The wing cap is a genuinely fun addition to the series, but making the punishment for falling being getting dropped outside into the lake is fucking demonic when the entrance to this sub-area is at the very top of the castle. Just for that, worst course in the entire game. Next would be the Cavern of the Metal Cap. It's inoffensive. The red coins here are easy to collect. It's only this low because if someone does get swept away by the water before hitting the switch or getting the extra star, they get shot out into the castle grounds and have to go back through Hazy Maze Cave to reach it again. Then I'd say Tower of the Wing Cap. It's an iconic mini course. Failing drops you right back at the entrance, making it easy to jump back into. And remember to actually hit the switch. Most people forget about it, myself included. Next would be the Secret Aquarium. It's a red coin collecting cube underwater, but the vibes are absolutely immaculate, and it fits with the location it's found in within the castle. Plus, I recently watched the Moonlit Galaxy GeoGuessr, and the discovery that some of the outer skybox is just pure purple is really funny to me. Then we have Vanish Cap under the moat, which has the toughest platforming in terms of precision and collecting red coins. It's heartbreaking if you miss one of the first 3 on that initial ramp down, but those rotating lifts towards the end of the course also can't be underestimated. Great challenge, and the price for failure is a very small walk back to the entrance, one that you can only find by draining the moat in the basement, which is its own fun little puzzle. But the Princess's Secret Slide is still peak. The music, the energy, the race for a sub-21 time if you're not doing shortcuts, the fact you can actually stand on those platforms mid-slide with the right movement, it's inherently a great time. Wing Mario over the Rainbow lowers the castle stocks quite a bit, but the rest of these sub-areas raise them back up, and that's what lands them not in my top tier, but at least out of the bottom 5. At number 11, we have Jolly Roger Bay. This course is all about immaculate vibes. We start on this small beach overlooking a large lake, and within lies all the fun, whether that's diving down to harass the local clam population for their red coins, or coercing an eel to leave a sunken ship so we can hop in, open some chests, and collect the area's star. I love the addition of the secret perilous cave where teetering pillars threaten to crush the unsuspecting Mario, even if I think reusing the pick-a-chest that we saw with the plunder in the sunken ship star is a bit lazy. Can the eel come out to play as a simple yet fun star that fits the early game of 64? And those eels terrified players back in the day, so you can imagine this was a tough star for some in their formative years. Through the Jet Stream is a simple use of the metal cap that, while not the most ingenious, is still fun as you sink to the bottom of the giant chasm like a rock. The only star that I'd say I don't care for is Blast the Stone Pillar, but even then, you're blasting onto a pillar that you then platform off of to actually reach the star, so it's a little more involved than the cannon star from Tall Tall Mountain, as an example. My problem with JRB though is that there isn't much to the visuals to stop everything from feeling repetitive. You're traversing the same 2 pools of water, and the hidden pirate cavern has barely any decoration to it. I wanted a bit more theming, I guess. The other 3 major early levels in SM64 also all have more complex layouts and platforming, while JRB takes a step back in favor of slow underwater movement, which just isn't as satisfying to play repeatedly, slows the pacing down. Which is fine, but not quite what I'm looking for. The 100 coin mission is also incredibly dull, with you needing to basically find every coin in the entire level. Yay! But the music is absolutely immaculate and totally elevates this level completely. Just because Dire Dire Docks reuses the same theme doesn't mean that level got to raise up, because JRB did it first. At number 10, we have Wet Dry World. I don't know how else to explain it, but with the ominous Yemen City skybox and the overall design, am I the only one who thinks Wet Dry World doesn't feel like a Mario level? I'm not sure what's in here to make you think Mario. The random flooded city beneath the stage that lies abandoned is more ominous than anything else, with you needing to do a lot of wall jumping to get those red coins, which admittedly isn't my favourite star to collect. I really struggled with wall jumps for some reason, and I found the upper half of the course to be way more interesting with making use of its central gimmick, the lowering and raising of the water levels, which allows you to access different parts of the map. Sometimes you need the water level lowered so you can interact with specific locations for secrets in the shallows and sky, or so you can quickly get on the express elevator for the star of the same name. But also figuring out how to raise the water level is pretty fun, helping you get the arrow lifts and top of the town stars. And I love the detail that if you jump into the level painting from its highest point, the water level rises up high enough for you to reach the Bob-omb and unlock the cannon for the last 2 stars. That is genius. But I will say that the shocking arrow lift star is lazy, given you can just long jump the entire puzzle, and that's the first star you load in on, not the best first impression. I honestly think this level needed a boss fight or something in that hidden village as opposed to the red coins, and I think the red coin mission would be better served in a room that makes use of raising and lowering water levels. Basically, Wet Dry World could have been so much better with a few tweaks, and what we got is good, but it feels weirdly like a beta test of a course that needed more time in the oven. That being said, I know there are a lot of people out there who love this course for those exact reasons. The creepy atmosphere, the open-ended design that lets you do whatever you want. If that's you, fair play. But for me, it's more middle of the pack. At number 9, we have the 3 Bowser stages, Bowser in the Dark World, Bowser in the Fire Sea, and Bowser in the Sky. These stages all play out roughly the same, featuring an intense series of platforming courses that eventually lead you to the boss fight with the big man himself. In each stage, you have to find 8 red coins, which will spawn a star near the end of the course, and some of these red coins can be insanely well hidden, such as this red coin at the very start of Dark World, this red coin obscured by the flamethrower in the Fire Sea, and this red coin hidden on a small platform that most people wouldn't check in the sky. Of the 3 levels, I'd rank Fire Sea in last place. It's got solid platforming, I really like the rising and lowering poles near the very end, but ironically, it's the aesthetic that knocks it down. I love that the other 2 stages take place in these darker, more foreboding zones, whereas Fire Sea just has the same background as Lethal Lava Land. Then it'd be Dark World as the first Bowser stage in the game. It sets the tone with the ominous greenish platforms, the electrifying enemies, the platforming that can send you into the void at a moment's notice. It all comes together incredibly well. But Bowser in the Sky just challenges you on everything you know about the game, whilst having you ascend higher and higher into the sky via these really cool gravity-defying hill textures. Plus, it's kind enough to give you a respawning 1-up right before the Bowser fight, so you're actually rewarded for making it to the end. That being said, I've never been the biggest fan of the Bowser fights. Dark World is hilariously easy, Fire Sea you just need him to charge at you, and in Sky he's obviously at his most difficult and it feels like a final boss, but I've never been good at getting the right aim for that final throw when the arena is cracked into its star shape, and I've had runs where some of the worst luck imaginable causes about 50 "so long, gay Bowsers." Yeah, my throat's a bit sore, so I couldn't really do the full impression there. At number 8, we have Tick-Tock Clock. The mileage you get out of this course depends entirely on how into Mario 64's moveset you actually are. If you're a speedrunner, I bet Tick-Tock Clock is your playground, and regardless of the number you choose to enter, you're having a great time. Because depending on when you choose to enter the course, the speed will change. Entering when the minute hand is near the 12 causes everything to freeze. At the 3, it all moves slowly. At 6, the speeds and movements are all wacky and random, while at 9, everything moves at sonic speed. Some of the stars are best handled with time frozen, as you can get all the way to this point in the level without any moving parts. I don't know if it's possible to get higher than this. If it is, please let me know in the comments. My main problem with this course though goes back to Tall Mountain, and that you're basically doing the exact same parkour for every star, with each successive goal being higher up the level. The difference here though, and why TTC lands higher on my personal ranking, is that this is pure platforming, and you're in control. Freeze everything and get those red coins, go in at number 3 and you have a chill climb to the top where you can collect every star no problem. I love the framing of when you collect the pit and the pendulum star, as the camera will pan to show you that the path further up the clock is actually behind where the star is located. It's a great visual hint at how you'll have to progress when you go in for your next star, and I love TTC for that. However, I do not love the 100 coin star, which asks for perfection as you need to collect every coin you can muster. I ended up beneath the thwomp for my final coins, and this took me an hour and a half to get my winning run. A little traumatizing, but TTC is one of the most iconic courses in Mario history, and I'm happy it exists so we get that Mario Kart track in DS and Deluxe. I do think they missed a trick by not making it into a Mario Party board though. I know it's easier in DS, so let me know if you want me to do a follow-up video going over the Nintendo DS 64 game's changes to some of the courses. At number 7, we have Lethal Lava Land. In a similar vein to TTC, I find this course to be one where if you're great at platforming, you're gonna have an absolute blast here, and it lands higher than the previous entry because I'm just better at this game's horizontal platforming than I am at its vertical platforming. Taking long jump shortcuts across the lava as I attempt to speed to the next star location is really satisfying, and the immediate fiery aesthetic makes you feel like the difficulty has just been raised going into this portion of the game, especially when it's the only painting in the basement that you can visually see. Hazy Maze Cave is a silver blob, Shifting Sandland is an illusory wall, and Dire Docks is a blue blob. My favourite part of LLL is the volcano. It has 2 stars within, but the idea of dropping into the volcano itself is just really cool, and hiding this massive platforming challenge within even better. Whether you're climbing the walls and hot-footed into the volcano, or trying the elevator tour where you have to avoid these flamethrowers as you climb, it's a great challenge. I can't say I'm the biggest fan of the bully enemies though. I think Boyle the Big Bully is fun, but immediately following that with Bully the Bullies, where you fight a bunch of smaller bullies on a platform a few jumps away from the previous star's platform, feels inherently lazy. The red coin star, while incredibly quick to finish, is a fun little challenge, and I really enjoy the red hot log rolling star as you work your way around the lava land to even reach the rolling log itself. And this is one of the more fun 100 coin star levels because you get to shred on a Koopa shell along the lava, grabbing coins while curving corners and crossing platforms. The camera sometimes changes perspective while riding though, which can cause you to crash the green shell, which does suck. But when you identify those problem spots, you can just avoid them in future runs. Triple L's only real knock is just how flat it is as a level. Everything is grounded, the lack of verticality is noticeable, and there are other courses that strike a much better balance. At number 6, we have Hazy Maze Cave. Am I crazy for putting it this high, when for so many years it's been considered one of the worst courses by the community? Part of my high Hazy Maze Cave ranking definitely comes from familiarity. Once you know the layout of the level and you're not needing to look at the in-game maps, routing becomes a lot easier. Without glitches, I can make it down to Dory from the Boulder Room extremely quickly by taking the left path at the start and doing a few long jumps. The right path takes you to the red coins, which is one of the more fun variations with the platform you control by pressing directional buttons. There is one star you're supposed to use Metal Mario to get by weighing down this underwater button, but I actually managed it with a high enough ground pound, so that's fun. I also think the star above the rolling rocks is a tad out of place. I feel like there could have been more added to it beyond climbing a hill that we've climbed multiple times before for other stars, and then doing simple wall jumps. And then there are the 2 maze stars. I actually like the gas maze, but then I've always excelled at navigation, so my mental map is pretty strong. 2 exits lead to 2 different stars, one via an elevator, and one via some climbable metal grating in the Boulder Room. Learning the maze was pretty chill, and I never had much issue with avoiding the gas beyond a single death. The only part I struggled with was the blue coin switch, because I didn't initially see the right direction I had to follow to collect them all. Now, a lot of people say the 100 coin star for Hazy Maze is a little traumatic. You want to make it as easy for yourself as possible. Kill every enemy you see, collect the blue coins and the red coins. It's ultimately easier than you'll think it is, even if I did have to go all the way down to Dory for her ring of coins and then right back up into the maze. You also access the metal cap from here, so that's another fun reason to come to HMC. I won't pretend this is a course for everyone, it's open-ended but also a giant maze, but for me, it ended up working on this playthrough, and I found it to be one of the more iconic levels from SM64. And with that, we're officially at the top 5. Any course could take home the gold, but before that, could you consider ground pounding that subscribe button? We're trying to reach 50,000 subscribers by the end of 2026, and I make ranking videos like this every week. I'm also sick. It's the only way to truly help the channel grow and to help me heal. At number 5, we have Snowman's Land. I really came around to both of the ice levels on my recent replay, and I was pleasantly surprised to see that Snowman's Land was one of my favourite levels overall. This is important because as a kid, I remember disliking this course because of the main star, the snowman's big head. Getting flung off that icy bridge because the penguin decided to move weirdly and because Mario has the slipperiness of an eel was still a bit triggering even now. However, the star is well designed and I found the rest of the level's offerings to be pretty fun. The chill bully and the whirl from the freezing pond are a little simple, with the bully being a cold redux of LLL and whirl from the freezing pond ending so prematurely. But then you have shell shredding for red coins, which is really satisfying to pull off. And with the shell, you can access into the igloo, where with the vanish cap, you can collect a bunch of coins and another star. In the deep freeze, some might find a bit basic. It's an ice sculpture with a star inside, and if you get on top of the ice, you can drop onto the star itself. But it's more the idea behind this challenge that I enjoyed. Imagine it being a larger structure, one with a more complex inner working of tunnels and paths. Oh, what could have been? Snowman's Land is also nicely compact, which helps when it comes to getting the 100 coin star. There are enough enemies to farm, coins to collect, and so on. Really, the only thing against Snowman's Land is that there's just a better ice level in the game that came much earlier, and that's sometimes how the cookie crumbles. At number 4, we have Bob-omb Battlefield. This was the first 3D Mario level, and they knew they had to nail it. We've got a nice mix of horizontal and vertical platforming, with your very first star being to climb the mountain and take down King Bob-omb. The path cleverly takes you by the Chain Chomp and his locked up star, through a trench with 3 rolling balls, and then up the treacherous hilltop path with boulders rolling down to hit you at a moment's notice. I love the little teleport for curious players to get to the top quicker, which can be used in the Koopa the Quick race soon after. A second star that solidifies teaching you the main route through the level so that the rest of the stars build off of that knowledge. Be it the red coins and collecting them throughout the battlefield, with the one sliding down the mountain hill being my particular highlight, or activating the cannons and using the one on the mountain path to blast to the tree on the floating island. You can get the star from the Chain Chomp by ground pounding the wooden post he's connected to, which is great because there's surprisingly few stars in SM64 that make use of the ground pound. After Odyssey, it's kinda weird going back to see how little it's used. The only star I dislike is Mario Wings to the Sky, because I find lining up the cannon and controlling the wing cap to be a bit finicky, and I'd highly recommend doing this star at the same time you get the 100 coin star, as otherwise you'll have to do this twice. Also, don't ground pound these posts, run around them instead for extra coins, advice I wish I had remembered. Bob-omb Battlefield just feels like a fully realised level. I can see it being the blueprint for future games and franchises. Spyro the Dragon's levels are very much in a similar vein to Bob-omb Battlefield, and the 100 coin star here has you going to all the different nooks and crannies beneath the mountain, which will get you some 1-ups for exploring. Overall, a solid first level. Iconic, and while not my personal favourite or even in my top 10 Mario courses, it deserves the praise it gets for introducing you to so many mechanics that become staples of the series. At number 3, we have Big Boo's Haunt, and I'm actually going to start with my main negative of BBH, which is the reuse in 3 separate stars of the Big Boo mini-boss. Go on a ghost hunt, ride Big Boo's merry-go-round, and Big Boo's balcony all see us beating up this Big Boo to claim our prize. I think he's got a thing for being degraded, chat. Luckily, each star has more going for it than how they end. Ghost Hunt sees you exploring the lower floors of the mansion to hunt the smaller boos as they float throughout the various rooms. I especially love the room with the pit leading to the underground, as this really unnerved me as a kid whenever I fell down there. Ride Big Boo's merry-go-round sees you enter the underground area to fight a series of boos in the merry-go-round, which, a side note, is a fantastic farming spot for the 100 coin star. Thank God the boos drop blue coins. They made 100 coins so simple and so lovely, and I will bless this course for it. And then Big Boo's balcony. The challenge is in reaching it, as you need to do a tricky wall jump in this library which gets you to the upper floor. Now, someone tell me why I can sometimes do this jump instinctively on the first go, but then spend 10 minutes flopping when it comes to the eye in the secret room star, where you have to get up first try so you can vanish cap through this painting and defeat the big eye. Evil stuff. Back to the balcony, the star flying onto the roof is one of the funniest tricks in the game. You think you've won, and suddenly you've got more long jumps onto the rooftops with a very awkward camera. The weakest star here is the Haunted Books, where you enter a library and hit 3 books in a certain order to reveal the star. Feels like it needed more layers or more variations of that puzzle to work. Red Coins is great. You get to explore the entire mansion looking for them, including the weird coffin room, and of course, the iconic piano jump scare. How could I rank a course low when it's caused so much generational trauma? And the aesthetic, oh my god, they absolutely nailed the ghost house theme. Even before you enter the course, it's just beating you over the head, entering the fountain courtyard where there are boos everywhere, and then shrinking down to fit inside the course, which is a diorama. It's perfection. Very deserving of a bronze medal finish. At number 2, we have Cool Mountain, an extremely solid ice level with every star actually feeling distinct and unique. I knew we could do it. The first simply asks you to use the level's slide to reach the bottom of the mountain, spawning a star. You can even take a hidden shortcut for some extra 1-ups, well worth the effort. Then you have the big penguin race, where you slide down the full slide while a penguin is in hot pursuit. He is designed to rubber band at certain points, but if you're consistent, you can beat him and collect a lot of coins for the 100 coin star in the process. Little Penguin Lost is infamous as a star for the amount of throwing the baby penguin into the void memes. You take this kid from the top of the mountain to the very bottom, and there's really no wrong way to handle it. Take it slow or take risky jumps. As long as the kid reaches mama, you get the star. Maybe someone should tell the penguin to use the warp spot next time. The red coins are your traditional throughout the level type challenge. I like that they ask you to explore, but I will admit that it feels distinctly painful to mess up and have to start all over. Snowman's Lost His Head is a great star that sees you going ahead of a rolling snowman as you attempt to lead it to a body further down the mountain. Entertaining, but a little finicky, as if you're behind the snowball or too far ahead, it'll miss the target completely. And then there's the wall kick star. I know there's a fast strat to get down there without taking the cannon, but I ain't good enough at the game to do it. Instead, I'll settle for riding the gondola to this bob-omb to open the cannon and fire over to this tree. Fun fact, I totally forgot you could long jump in SM64 until I reached this gap and kept falling into it. A little trial and error before I remembered one of the most useful movement jumps in the series. I still think SM64's wall jumps are a bit finicky though. The polygons don't always have you jumping back in the direction you want, but they gave a heart here to heal up from falls, so the developers knew that this would be a learning issue. And it makes for a nice change, having this hidden star on the side of the mountain you normally can't access. Between all these interesting star placements, plus a relatively tame 100 coin star thanks to the slide inside the mountain, and the coins on the slopes leading down outside, you'll hit your target and ace this course no problem. It was almost my favourite in the game, only beaten out by... At number 1, we have Womp's Fortress. The layout of this map is so iconic, it was reused in the throwback galaxy of Mario Galaxy 2, and I think it's a great playground for the early game. The Void is introduced, showing that there are some stakes to failing certain jumps and challenges, but a majority of the platforming will just drop you down onto lower areas or into water-filled moats, so you're fine. The Thwomps are iconic, and I love that you can platform on them to reach the red coins and some such. Womps, meanwhile, are tragically simple enemies to kill, but they look pretty imposing. Even the Womp King. I couldn't remember if he had a fast strat to beating him, so I kinda got squished twice before doing the fight casually. What I like though is that the second star asks you to reach the top of the fortress, but now there's a new tower to climb with retracting platforms. But more importantly, knowing the layout of the fortress after that first star allows you to risk the climb making skips. The triple jump from here to the lifts leading to the boss is such a simple skip, but feels so good for casual play. I also love the fall onto the caged island star where you ride a bird into the sky and have to time your drop to eventually win. The bird is also just good for getting you up the fortress a tad. I do wish though that the bird had been utilised more throughout the game, as I feel like there was a lot of potential here for this mechanic. The red coins are all well spread out, with some of them on floating islands above the fortress that have surprisingly tricky platforming, and the two cannon stars both have a similar premise, shooting to the correct location to collect a star, but with two very different outcomes. One has you aiming for a structure so you hit a pillar to halt your momentum, while the other has you shooting a jagged piece of environment to shatter it. I know there are some crazy skips in this level, but just playing through it casually is great fun, and it allows for more skill expression from the player than Bob-omb Battlefield. The 100 coin star is also pretty tame, as killing the piranha plants dotted around will give you blue coins, and there are regular coins throughout the level to collect as well. Womps just has the energy of a Mario level. It feels like the definitive stage from 64 and deserves the title of Best Course in Super Mario 64. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to ground pound that subscribe button once again, trying to reach 50,000 subscribers, and I will see you guys next time for another video. Adios.